All right, welcome back to Chapter 8. We're going to have a look at tokenizing a string in this video. And what is tokenizing a string? Well, when you have a situation where a string contains a block of similar words or data, and what we can do is we can start looking at that data and start taking it apart. They call that tokenizing. So the example up here is we've got a string of information here. We've got three separate pieces of data. We got the word orange, apple, orange, and banana, and separated by a colon right here. So what we can do is we can take this string and we can break it apart and into its own individual token. So apple will be a token, orange and banana, they're all tokens. And to do that, we need to use a character as what they call a delimited character, a delimiter. And so the delimiter is something that we separate each of these items and these tokens that we're going to delimit or basically break it up. So they call this tokenizing a string. So when we tokenize a string, we've got a string of characters and we're going to break it up into multiple pieces by separating it at its delimiter points right here. So we're going to use a method in C# called let's split or split up the string and tokenize it, and that's the method that we're going to use here. Now when we do that, when we split it, it's going to extract the tokens from the string and return them as an array of strings. So it's going to actually put this into apple and then into a separate index called orange and then another element here called banana, and it'll have their own subscript. So this will be 0, this will be 1, this will be 2. Now this last comment here is you can pass a character as a char array as arguments to specify a list of delimiters. That's if you were to have more than basically one of these. So if I had separated my characters with a semicolon here or a colon and then I used a semicolon there, we could actually set up an array of separate delimiters to actually look for, as long as the data was consistent. And they use the same pattern of delimited characters. We could set up an array of arguments to specify these delimited characters. Alright, so here's what a sample would look like. So if we've got a string right here called 1, 2, 3, 4, the delimited character here is just a space. So this str contains that entire string. So if we took that entire string, we could use the method here called, so let's split it up. And we're going to split it up based on null or nothing, which is actually this right here, which is a space. Now we probably could have also gone single quote and space, single quote, and done it this way, looking for that as the delimited character. And that's how we're splitting it up. And when we do that, we're going to tokenize it into a string array. So this is actually creating an array and we're going to load in 1, 2, 3, 4, so that each of those gets put into this variable name here called tokens. Now similarly, we could do the same thing with a different delimiter. We could use a semicolon here. In that case, we could type in semicolon right there, and we could pull it apart and put, tokens 0 would be 1, tokens 1 would be, this would be the word 2, and so forth, would get loaded into that array right here. Now, what we're talking about by an array of delimiters is we could actually add this line right here, which is we're going to look for a delimiter, but the delimiter could be an @ symbol or it could be a period in that case. And what's happening in this example is we're going to be looking at tokenizing, let's say, an email address. Now email addresses have consistent ats and periods. So we could use this @ symbol and the period and pull apart to find people's name, their domain, and their top level domain, and pull that apart. So what that would do is to say, let's take our string, our email address, and let's split it, and let's use an array of delimiters here, which is our @ and our period, to delimit that, and that would pull out Joe, and that would put it in the first token, and then it would put in Gaddis books, it would put it into the second element within tokens, and then finally it would put in com as into that, well, that would be the second element of tokens, and would basically tokenize the address, the email address. So kind of a neat little feature of how to pull apart a string into an array.